Hey everyone, and welcome back to Too Ambitious. I'm so excited to be here. And once again, happy Women's History Month. This is exciting. I am so privileged to talk to so many extraordinary women. And if this is your first time watching Too Ambitious, this is a show that celebrates Black women and women of color who are innovative, resilient, extraordinarily talented, and yes, very, very ambitious. So make sure you give it up in the comments. I want to see some emojis. I want you to show me some love because today I have such an exciting show for you. You won't believe who is here. Today I'm chatting with the founder of Holder Advisory and Associates, Jamaila Holder. She is a product leader turned advisor who's dedicated to guiding early startups to build products and processes that support their future growth. I'm so excited for her to be here and share all about her solopreneur journey. So please give me a warm welcome for Miss Jamaila Holder. Jamaila, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you today, Trish?
I'm doing well. Great to see you.
Too.
Yeah, so, I have been a fan of yours since we met, in person at Afrotech. And full disclosure to everyone out there, Jamila and I used to work at LinkedIn together, but we've never met. And then connected at Afrotech and was like, where have you been all my
Oh,
life? You know?
exactly. So it was one of those kind of like kismet sort of connections when we first met. And
Yes.
ever since then, we've just continued all the conversations like every month.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I know that, you are in project management. And so let's just kind of set the stage a little bit because, I'm not going to assume that everybody's in tech and they know exactly what project management is. Do you mind just kind of sharing a little bit about what that is, just so everyone has an idea of the extraordinary work that you're doing?
Yeah, so as a product manager at a number of different tech firms, what we do as product managers is we come up with the strategy. We know what problem we're solving, or we try to identify it and then create a strategy, a roadmap, and a vision around that.
Mhm.
And as a result of all of that work, we then look to work with our cross-functional partners to actually develop the work. So whatever's on the roadmap, whatever we've prioritized, whatever we've sold to engineers, whatever we've sold to designers and other cross-functional partners is then what we decide to go implement using those cross-functional partner skills. So for me, part of being a product manager is that it is a very dynamic role. You are constantly talking to people about what you're trying to do, what you want to do, what you see yourself doing in the future, what you're doing right now. And then really a lot of it is just like relationship building with your team of cross-functional partners. And so that
Yeah.
is what a product manager does. Like they take, everything from the very beginning, early stages of, hey, we have this idea, we think we're trying to solve this problem,
Mhm.
and get to the final completion area of like whatever problem it is that they're trying to solve and come up with how to do that by
Yeah.
releasing new features or building new technology, and then they continue to iterate on that afterwards.
Ah, amazing. That's something that obviously is much needed, but you never really think about how some of the amazing products that we all use actually get made, but it's people like you who keep, as they say, all the trains on the tracks, keep them moving, keep them going, right?
Exactly.
I love that. How did you get into that line of work? Is that something that you studied for or something you've always been passionate about even when you were younger?
I wouldn't say I was necessarily passionate about it when I was younger. What I would say is that when I was graduating from Duke with my MBA, I knew that I wanted to work in tech. I didn't exactly know what or how, or, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. But
Right.
I knew that I wanted to work in tech. And so I had done a number of roles prior to moving into product in tech. But what I enjoyed about the role was that it still requires me to be technical, but I don't necessarily have to write a line of code. I do need to be able to understand what my engineers are doing or what I want them to do and be able to explain it to them well. And then when they come back with a technical solution, understand what are some of the nuances or challenges of whatever it is that they're proposing so that we can make decisions on how to implement the work going forward. So I knew that I wanted to be close to the product. In fact, I had a manager tell me some years back, like, hey, in tech, stay close to the product, stay close to sales. Like,
Mm.
those two areas in tech are extremely valuable, revenue
Yeah.
generating, revenue producing sort of roles.
Yep.
And so doing work in product just felt like a natural fit for me. And so
Yeah.
that's really why I decided to pursue it with the skill set that I had, understanding that I knew I was going to be probably pushed out of my comfort zone when I first started.
Mhm.
And I also knew that I wanted to have that experience of trying something completely new.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, as you mentioned, you have an MBA from Duke University, and you've worked at notable companies such as LinkedIn and Vanguard, but you're now an entrepreneur. Why did you decide to go that path? Because you
Yeah.
probably could have kept going the corporate route,
I
right?
could have. I really could have. I've been working in corporate like all of my corporate career life, right? Like post college, I am a corporate girly, have been for the entire career that I've had thus far. Closer to when I left the Bay Area and moved to Miami, I started going to
Mm.
tech events. I would meet a lot of founders and they're like, hey, I have this idea. You're a product manager. Can you help me? And so
Right.
I was like, all right, like, let's have a conversation because this stuff is
Yeah.
energizing to me naturally. And so I'd have conversations with these founders about what it is that they want to build, how to build it, or maybe they've built something already and they're trying to figure out what the signal is to then determine what they should continue to build on. But I realized I was really energized by those conversations. What I really, really enjoyed was the aspects of talking to these founders. Most of them are extremely passionate about whatever it is that they're building, whatever problem they're trying to solve, and they just need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
And so a lot of how I got into this was more around me volunteering my time,
Mm.
specifically with Black founders and underrepresented founders as well, and just helping them, supporting them, having conversations, whether they're strategy conversations or just like brainstorming conversations, or just kind of listening to what their idea is and starting to ask more questions so that they can get a bit more firm on what problem they were solving. But I also realized I enjoyed this work so much. It's very dynamic. Working with founders is extremely dynamic. They're passionate. They are people that I think, really care about whatever it is that they're doing because they have so much on the line, right?
Mhm.
Oftentimes, like some people are still working their corporate job and they are wanting to do this on the side. And so or at least up front, like right up front, right?
Yeah.
Starting to
Yeah.
kind of get the idea off the ground, see what kind of traction they can get. So they're all in and bought into the idea of being a founder. And so what I started doing was trying to work with them to make sure that they were solving the right problem so that they can start to build out that product and figure things out. But it was just energizing work for me. And I realized it felt simple, it felt easy.
Yeah.
I'm picking the people that I want to work with. And so that also started to become really, really cool for me. And I'd say that so much of my previous corporate journey prepared me for where I am right now in terms of making this solopreneurship leap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the work that you're doing too is it's inspiring and you're acting like a guide to these, founders who, like you said, are in this space where they're just trying to figure it out and you're like a beacon of light, Jamila. You're helping
I like
them,
I
you're
like
showing them the way. So,
I like light, I like sun, so I'll take it. Thank you.
That's right, Lightbringer. I love it.
All right.
So yeah, one of your previous colleagues, Carrie, says, I've had the honor of working with Jamila, and she does a great job not only working with engineers and technical folks, but also gathering and vetting requirements from
Oh,
customers.
thank you,
So
Carrie.
look
Hi,
at
Carrie.
that.
Thanks for
Hey,
joining us. Haven't talked to you in a little
yes,
bit.
yes.
Carrie used to make these ridiculously great cookies, and she would just leave them on my desk sometimes.
No
Carrie
pressure,
says, "You see it
Carrie. Yeah. No pressure, Carrie, but sun does cookies. So,
You know?
but thank you, Carrie, for that wonderful comment. So you're working with these early startup founders and everything like that. Can you share some of the projects or some of a bit how you work? Like so, an early founder comes to you like, okay, here's a problem. So what's like a problem that you've encountered, and you're like, okay, this is a direction that you need to go in. You know.
Yeah, so I'd first say that how I got started is not necessarily where I'm focusing now. So when I first started out, right, I'm volunteering my time. I am working with founders at the earliest stage of, them building out whatever idea it is that they have. Um, but what I found is that depending on the founder, they're like over relying on me. Right. And so I do think that there's something to be said for a founder that asks for, some guidance, but starts to execute things on their own,
Yeah.
which allows me to continue to work with a number of other people. And so for me, I've actually transitioned into working with founders that have figured out a couple things, like one, at least some sort of traction, potentially a little bit of like product market fit. And what they really need is support and guidance in leading them to get to full product market fit and leading them to really accelerate the like roadmap creation and the execution after that. And the reason why I felt like I also had to do that, especially in this stage right now, is because when you're that early, things are shifting all the time.
Constantly.
And
Yeah.
so I felt like for me, in order for me to be able to use my time more wisely, I also needed to pivot a bit from
Yeah.
what I initially started doing versus what I'm doing now. So it's a lot of the same work. It's just that the founder has figured out a couple of other things prior. And then by
Right.
the time I start working with them, it's, we can get a lot more done.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, let's get into like the solopreneurship part of your business. What's that been like? What's that journey been like for you to start your own business? And what's been the biggest challenge so far?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been wonderful. I have really enjoyed this journey. I think like what next month it'll be like an official 6 months of full time
Yay.
work. But I'll also say like I also started this journey a couple of years ago, so I've been learning along the way and kind of pivoting along the way as well. The solopreneur journey has been like a really cool ride so far.
Yeah.
I love the way that I am managing my time. I love the way that I am able to take time out to do things like this, right? And join these things in the middle of my workday. um,
Right.
I love the way that I have been able to connect with people and spend a lot more time connecting with people. I
Mhm.
do think that so much of this solopreneur journey, so much of what I'm doing right now, it does mean that I'm constantly talking to people about myself, about what I do, about the sort of transformation that
Mhm.
these companies are going to receive from me.
Yeah.
And so I spend a lot of my time going to different events. I spend a lot of my time talking to different people. Not everybody is going to become a client, and I am perfectly okay with that.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a not right now. Sometimes it's a hey, like let's pick this up when I have more time. Other
Mhm.
times it's really more so like referrals that are really kind of like powering me. And I've been blessed that when I do meet people and I tell them what I'm doing, a lot of people end up introducing me to other people. And so that sort of organic growth and that sort of organic sort of client exploration has been really, really helpful.
Right.
But you and I were both, well, you made it to Austin last week, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
I
I know we
do.
didn't get a chance to connect out there. I got in, like, right when
Yeah.
you were leaving. Uh,
Yes.
but I used my time in Austin really, really wisely in that way,
Mhm.
to meet more people, whether they're founders or people that are investing in founders, and really help myself to, start talking to more people and get out of, like, the proximity of Miami and
Yeah.
whatnot, and use South by Southwest as another sort of, like, just client generation tool
Yeah.
and pipeline, generation tool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, South by Southwest is phenomenal for that, along with other amazing conferences that happen throughout the year, is really sort of connecting. And I will say too, as a fellow entrepreneur as well, it is about meeting people and
Yep.
constantly networking, So, with that said, how do you take care of yourself? How do you manage all those conversations and make sure that how do you decide like which one to move forward with, which one to let go, taking care of yourself because there is a high burnout rate here. If there's a potential for that.
Yeah, so I'm still working on all of those pieces. I'd say for me, I have, and I think I told you this like in one of our many calls before, like, y'all, I am in the like most joyful period of my life right now,
Mhm, mhm.
where it just feels like everything has come together.
Yeah,
Everything, and it's been like this for like about a year or more. But I've been doing the solopreneurship journey for the last 6 months almost. And so I think just the level of joy and just excitement that I have around what I'm
mhm.
doing and the people I'm meeting and how I'm doing everything is definitely sustaining me and motivating me to continue
Yes,
on this journey and this path. I think that mindset really, really matters here, right? When it's, you running your own business, bringing the
yes,
energy and talking to people, like you
yeah,
want people to walk away from a conversation with you, like talking like, okay, you
absolutely.
know what, like, wow, like,
Yeah,
wow, that's great energy, or wow, like, oh, wow, I learned something today, or, oh, wow, like, I just genuinely like that person. Um,
yeah,
and I think so much of where I am right now is because of mindset. I do my meditation, I do my hot yoga.
yes,
In Miami. I do some of those other things, the tennis every so often and the golf
love
and
it.
the walks in the sun. The sun helps y'all. So the
It
sun
does.
also
It
helps.
does. Yes, it does.
So yeah, I have figured out my routine for what works for me and makes me
Yes.
feel really great. I don't wake up with joy on my face every single day.
You're
What
human.
I do allow for myself to do is to figure out like, okay, if I woke up and I'm not in like the best mood, take 30 minutes and try and figure out why. And I
Right.
start journaling like, okay, how are you feeling today? Why are you feeling that way? What's on your mind? And so a lot of this solopreneurship journey obviously is solo. So
Yes.
I do spend an incredible amount of time, thinking through how I want to spend my week, how I want to spend my day. And if it feels like the day that I thought I was going to get all these things done, but that day just doesn't feel as productive because I'm not in that right mode, then I start to adjust what that day looks like and give myself grace
Yeah.
to do so.
I love that, and it's obviously such a great mindset and way to kind of go about it. And you talk about meditation, everything like that. Tell us about that. Like, how long do you do your meditation for? Is that first thing in the morning? Like, give me all the tea.
Yeah. First thing in the morning, before I go to hot yoga, I do the
Okay.
meditation, I do the journaling, and then I
Okay.
do the hot yoga after. But I only do hot yoga like 2 times a week.
Okay.
And then I kind of like fill in with other things.
Okay.
But yeah, the meditation practice, I have been on and off for so long. I wish
Yes.
I could tell you I was like way more consistent and had been doing this for years. I had a really good stretch some years back, and then I felt like pandemic time frame came and it was like
Mhm.
14-hour days and you're like waking up on the computer and falling asleep with the computer on your lap.
Right.
And so I wasn't doing as much meditation at that point. But then closer to when I knew that I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, I realized like everything comes down to routine. And
Yes.
I'm blessed because my dad has been a entrepreneur basically all my life, and
Yeah.
I know what his routine has looked like and, like, the household that I
Mm.
was raised in terms of, like, how he did his thing with his exercise, and he was the one
Yeah.
that first actually told me years ago, like, I should start meditating. And so I think it's one of those things where you just gotta find the balance for you and give yourself grace if you can't quite get that, like, routine executed every single day, but try the best you can.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Terrence Turner says, "So proud of you, Jamila. So,
Oh, Terrence.
hey,
Hi.
there
Thank you
you
for joining
go.
us. I'm
Yes, thank you for joining, Terrence. This is great. When you talk about your dad, I'm sure he must be proud of you, continuing the family tradition of being an entrepreneur. What is he saying to you?
um, yeah, he's saying a lot. He is proud, don't get me wrong, but because he's done what I'm doing, he does give a lot of advice. A lot of it is great advice,
Right,
obviously,
right, right.
but it's unsolicited sometimes too. So, a parent is gonna parent. It is what it is. But I think also when it comes to this journey, um, having the right people around you that tell you, that encourage you,
Yes,
through the journey is
yeah,
also really, really important, and so I'm blessed to have family members, my father, brother, cousins that are, like, super supportive of what I'm
yes.
doing and how I'm doing it, but I'll also say that, like, I didn't just come and arrive here overnight. I had an
Right.
executive coach about 2 years ago, and that's more so when I started discovering like, "Oh, maybe I could, like, do this on the side or, like, just volunteer my time. I'm really enjoying this work." And she encouraged me, right?
Yes,
And so it does kind of take having a number of people around you to be like, "No, you're not crazy. You should totally try and do this and see how it works
absolutely.
out for you."
Yeah.
So I've since worked with another executive coach, and I told her, like, "May 2024, your girl gonna be out here working for herself."
Yes,
That's what I
yes.
told her, and I think it was, like, May 2022 when I told her that.
Yeah,
So, this was something that I had been thinking about for quite
yeah,
some time,
right.
and I've been deliberate about it as well.
Yeah, and you're clearly killing it, so congratulations to you, that is strong manifestation right there, right? You put it out in the universe and here it comes, and you're early on your schedule because 'cause you're already doing it, because 'cause we're not in May yet, that's why everybody but still, but so you're killing it,
Thank you, thank you,
we
and so are you,
we
sis, so are
oh,
you.
thank you, to your point of having that really great community, I consider you part of my community and,
Likewise.
you always, willing to share your resources and advice and uplifting as well. So I thank you for that, because none of us can do this alone, right?
Right.
None of us. Yeah, you
Not a
know?
single one of us. Definitely
Yeah.
takes an entire network of group of friends and people around us to encourage us to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a question from our lovely audience. Sahir Fox is saying, for those who are comfortable with code but want to explore a career as a PM, what do you recommend we can do a better job of positioning ourselves for this role? What worked for you?
Yeah, yeah, gosh. So what worked for me was that I was working for a tech company already and made the transition.
Okay.
And so I think that was helpful, because I had done some product prior to going to business school, but it was also helpful to like work for a tech company and make that transition too.
Right.
And this is what I kind of tell people if they're already working at a tech company, to start to try and figure out how they can make that pivot and that switch over
Okay.
to product, so that they can, still work with the same company. They're more familiar, likely, with the products that that company sells, and they
Right.
have a bit more insight into what needs to be done from a product perspective to
Right.
improve that product. So
Right.
I always say kind of like start in your backyard, assuming that Sahir is, has been working in tech at some point or another.
Mm.
I always say start with companies that you've already worked with so that you can make that transition, internally. And then, depending on how that product role goes, you can start to figure out if you want to stay there and grow with the company in your product role or if you want to take on an external challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, great advice. Hopefully that answers your questions here, and thank you for that question. Make sure that you show us some love on this show. Jamila is dropping some gems for all of us, so please show some love and also follow Jamila as well. Yes, see, somebody else agrees. Yes, Jamila Holder dropping gems. Yes, yes, to all of that. So as we wrap up the show with Jamila, because she's extraordinarily busy and booked and, about to make several million. So we've got to be mindful of her time. So, Jamaila, how do we work with you? If there's a startup founder, someone who's out there who wants to work with you, how should we reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah. You can go to my website, jamailaholder.com, and I have my email address on that website. You can also just shoot me a message on LinkedIn. A lot of the work that I'm doing right now is just really cool. I am really enjoying just meeting founders, meeting investors, talking to people, and figuring out if there's a collaboration opportunity, or if there's someone that is better suited in my network to work with the founder, depending on what it is their needs are. I do find that doing this work, a lot of times, like, people will say like, oh, I need this, and then I ask more questions and I'm like, you do need that, but you also need this and that, and like, let's
Right.
prioritize what is most important for you in this moment
Yeah.
to ensure that you have longevity with whatever it is that you're building.
Yes.
So a lot of the conversations that I have with founders, it's not always me saying like, absolutely, I'm the right person for you in this moment. Sometimes it's
Right.
me saying like, hey, yeah, you need some support here, but I think you might be better off if you focused on this area first.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love that honest conversations, keeping it real, that is a really great way to continue to build relationships as well, because, there's many people out there would just tell people what they want to hear. So, you know, appreciate you always being honest and upfront with your potential clients. So thank you. Are there any final things you would love to share with us before you head off, Jamaila?
Yeah, I mean, I think that solopreneurship, entrepreneurship, obviously, it feels like these are like buzzwords that everybody has been throwing around for the
Yeah.
last couple of years. Um, I do think that if it's something that you are interested in doing, that you should come up with a plan before you try and do it.
Yeah.
I'm not Beyonce. I'm not going to tell you to quit your job and just go jump off the cliff into like entrepreneurship unless you got the stomach for, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
was thinking about doing this for a bit of time and was working with coaches to figure out how to do it, and had been talking to other people about it for a while, and it started doing the work. And
Yeah.
so that would be the one part of advice that I would have for someone is like, you know, depending on how you operate and how you work, um, put a plan in place. Give yourself
Yeah.
like deadlines of what you want to accomplish by certain dates, and talk to people. Don't be one of those founders that are like, well, I have this idea, but I can't tell anybody the idea because they might steal it. Don't be that person.
Don't be
Um,
that.
and the reason why I say don't be that person is because at the end of the day, most of the things that you tell people, they could be like, "That's really cool." They're not gonna go out and do it, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not gonna
That's
go out
true.
and do it.
That's
And
true.
it's one of those things, but you'll never know how good your product is or whatever it is that you're trying to build is going to be unless you
Mhm.
actually start to tell people what it is and you give them
Yeah.
an opportunity to ask you more questions that maybe you hadn't thought of.
Right.
So that for the next conversation, you have answers for questions that you hadn't thought of and weren't sure how to answer from the previous conversation.
Yeah.
So sharing your ideas, whether it's solopreneurship or entrepreneurship and founder, or like all of that stuff helps you to have better conversations in the future and really helps you to become more confident as you're having those conversations with more people
Absolutely.
around what it is that you're working on. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's 2 pieces of advice
Yes.
I guess I would
I
give.
love it. Excellent advice, is to be open to sharing your ideas and be willing to take action as well, especially if entrepreneurship is direction that you want to go in. It takes time. It is a journey, it takes time. So don't just jump in there, like Jamila said, have a plan. So thank you so much, Jamila, for taking the time to
Of
chat with
course.
me today. This has been great. Make sure
Thanks
you
for
all
the
follow
invite.
Jamila. Yes, on LinkedIn and check out her business, support her business, JamailaHolder.com. That's where you can find her. And also you can message her on LinkedIn. So thank you once again. And thank you all for joining Too Ambitious today. And we'll see you next week. And if you'd love to be on the show, message me as well. And yeah, we'll see you all. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Trish.
Bye.